Hi folks, me again, Rob Crompton, with another of my novels, Solomon's Magpie this time. Unlike my other novels, my Gilead novels, the religious cult is not central to the narrative of Solomon's Magpie, but the cult dynamic within the mainstream is most certainly present as it threatens the position of one of the supporting characters in the story. And later in the story, it turns out that some Jehovah's Witnesses have played a crucial part in wrecking family relationships. A major source of the inspiration for my story, however, comes from Delamere Forest in Cheshire. And here I have to acknowledge my indebtedness to my gran, who lived on the edge of the forest. She it was who introduced me many years ago to the wonders of that magical place. Gran it was who took me and my sister gathering wimberries down in a secluded hollow, which I now know as Blakemere. We didn't know then that Blakemere was at one time a peat bog and a lake. I learned that part of the forest story when revisiting the place after far too long an absence, and went looking for the old Wimberry Hollow, and I was devastated when I came to it, because all the trees had been felled and water was gathering in the hollow. And my first thought was that injudicious felling had wrecked the drainage and led to the inundation. That encounter with Blakemere inspired a poem. This was the poem I wrote. Go carefully into the forest. Leave the track carefully, warily, scarily. Storybook people live in the wood. Feel the breeze silently, whispering, whispering. Trees telling tales, singing songs of the wood. Go moonlit into the forest. Wait in the moonlight when shuffling, snuffling, badgers are scuffling deep in the wood. Go skipping into the forest, down the bank skipping, hopping and stopping, looking for wimberries down in the wood. Go slowly into the forest, round the bend sadly, wistfully wondering, how did it happen? Such a vast clearing flooded, and the path to my childhood ends at the water's edge, where trees have fallen. Since then, I've come to love what was going on there. So I owe a big thank you, I suppose, to a shadowy band of workers, French prisoners of war, according to legend, who were put to work draining the ancient woodland, the ancient wetland at the end of the Napoleonic Wars. More land was needed for timber for the war-depleted fleet. If I'd known about that legend as a child, I guess I would have fancied I'd seen them at work, those French workers digging the ditches to drain that vast peat bog. But I also owe a big debt of gratitude to the folk of the Delamere Meres and Mosses project, who set about restoring that rich ecological heritage and stopped me in my tracks when, quite some years ago now, I tried to retrace the steps that I took with my gran, looking for whimberries down in the woods. I guess that Solomon's Magpie, it occupies a similar place to that of those folk who, having left a cult like the Jehovah's Witnesses and having travelled through that transit zone, have come to the point where you're ready to leave the transit zone and get on with life in the real world outside. But the cult is never far behind, and there's something to crop up now and again which will remind us all of what was going back then. The story in Solomon's Magpie is rather similar to that. But let me read you an extract from it when the central character, Judy, has gone round to her granddad's place. Her granddad kept an old pub in Cheshire beside the canal, and Judy gets on very well with her granddad, but he's quite a character. He's rarely sober, but a fun sort of guy. So here goes. Grandad was fun, even when he was a bit sloshed, which he was most of the time. He kept his wiry grey hair very short, like a worn-out scrubbing brush, and he had a beard to match. At least, Judy thought he had a beard. She used to think that he just hadn't bothered to shave, but when he turned up, exactly the same for Gran's funeral, but in his smart suit and a tie, she decided it probably was a beard. And he liked the horses. He once nearly won $500,000 with a 50p accumulator, but the first horse fell at the starting gate, and the others didn't do much better either. "And do you know," he said, "Jemima Luby, she thought I was being serious, but she still wasn't impressed, the miserable bat." Judy once asked her mum who Jemima Luby was, but her mum just replied, "Judy, stop it, for goodness sake." Ah, yes, of course, Judy realised. Jemima Luby was Auntie Edith, the very prim and proper, humourless, fundamentalist Christian. Judy cycled down to the canal and along the towpath to Billington, where it emerged from underneath the main road. The canal opened into a long, wide basin with a tunnel at the far end. Right beside the tunnel was a thoroughly shabby pub, looking as if it was wondering where all its customers had gone. Grandad's place, the Heron. She cycled round the top end, over the mouth of the tunnel, and freewheeled down to the pub. She pushed open the door at the back of the building and stepped into the dark lobby. Ahead was a narrow staircase leading up to the flat, and to the right was the door to the old bar. "Hi, Grandad," she called at the foot of the stairs. "In here, love." She might have known he would have been in the bar, That's where he always was. And it was just the same as before, the pub had put up the towels for the last time, except that it was dusty and grimy and smelled cold and damp. But that was where Grandad liked to be and where he had his telly. So there he was, sitting in a wooden armchair at the table beside the empty fire grate, with his portable telly perched on the end of the bar. "Come on in, Judy, love. Sit yourself down for a minute while I see this next race. Got a couple of bob on this one." He shuffled in his seat, making himself more comfortable, and fixed his gaze on the small screen, as if by staring he could influence the outcome of the race. "I'll go upstairs and get your dinner ready," said Judy. "Come on up when you've seen your race." "Aye, go on, Judy. I've got a nice piece of steak pie up there. I'll have that with some peas and bread and butter. And there's enough for you as well. Oh, and I've got something else up there for you. It's about time you had it, because if the boys get their hands on this place before our Jack's ready to take over, they'll rip it to pieces and toss everything out." She left him to watch the last race of the afternoon. "Grandad," she called 20 minutes later when his dinner was ready. "Come on up, it's on the table." He came grunting and puffing his way up the stairs and eventually made it to the top. Painful to watch, really. But he was a stubborn old guy, and at 82, he was still insisting on staying in his pub. It was surprising that he'd lasted this long, because over the years he'd pickled his innards with enough Fielding's bitter to fill the Anderton basin several times over. "Daft bugger pulled up 2 furlongs short," Grandad muttered as he sat at the table. "Limping, they said he was, but I couldn't see it. Limp? Wimp, more like. If he'd come in first, I could have got you them new shoes you want. Now then, lass, are you having some of this here pie?" "No, Grandad, Mum's expecting me home." "Aye, of course. Oh, I nearly forgot." He stood up and shambled over to the oak dresser. "Come over here, love. I can't bend down like I used to. Come and open this cupboard door." "Yes, okay. But you go and get your dinner. It'll be going cold." "Never mind going cold. Can you see in there? There's an old wooden box in there somewhere." She rummaged around among all the stuff that had just been pushed in anyhow. "Aye, that's it, that one you've got in your hand. Bring it out here, girl." It was a wooden box about the size of a shoebox, but not as deep. The lid was inlaid with a floral design of ivory or something, which was missing a lot of its pieces. Now, that box, that's got a bit of history to it. It belonged, first of all, to Grandfather Solomon's mum, and it was her fancy man what made it for her. And when old Thad Whitaker found it, because she always kept it hidden, you see, well, when he found it, he beat hell out of her. Anyway, Solomon, he kept that box, and when Thad were dead and in the ground, he gave it back to his mum. And ever since then, it's come down the family for every Whitaker bloke in his turn to give to his missus. Except next time, of course, we'll have to do it a bit different, because our Freddy's daft bat wouldn't want it. Anyway, each bloke in his turn, only next time it'll be you, young Judy, has to put something else inside it. And there's only one proviso, and that's about the manky old magpie that comes with it all. That bird don't ever see the light of day. Why not? Because a magpie will talk, so we keep it out of sight, where it'll say nowt to nobody. That's what I were told. So where is it? Judy asked. Well, here we are. Where is it? Judy asked. All in good time, girl, all in good time. It's what's in the box I want you to be thinking about. She lifted the hinged lid, and inside there was a bag made of faded blue linen and closed with a drawstring. So is it all in here? She asked. Well, no, her grandad replied, lifting up his right hand. Here, this here ring, what I've got on my little finger, is what I gave you, Gran. It can go back in there when I've finished with it. And there's bits and bobs that you'll have to gather up. But don't worry, I know where they all are, so I'll not leave you clueless. So is this some of it? Judy asked, as she picked up the linen bag. Carefully she pulled it open and emptied the contents onto the dining table. It was an assortment of pieces of creamy white stuff of various shapes and sizes. What is it? Ivory? Bone. Bone. She picked up one of the larger pieces and saw that it had been carved. It was about 4 inches long, and the inner surface was rough, the inside of a piece of leg bone of some kind, with a smooth outer surface. 2 others, which looked like pieces of rib, about the same length, were smooth on all surfaces, and they were curved with embellishments carved into them, into both the outer sides, almost mirror images of each other. She placed them together. I get it, it's a ship. They're all pieces of a little model ship. Oh, wow. Where did it come from? Is everything here? Can we put it all back together? In time, Judy, love, in time. But you just put it back in the bag, because it's the other thing in there I want you to have a look at. In the bottom of the box was a packet with some faded handwriting on the front. Her grandad picked it up and held it carefully, almost as if it was some priceless antique. Now, I don't want you to be handling this too much until you know what you're doing. By rights, it doesn't really belong in the box, but it seemed a good place to keep it for now. He opened the packet and drew out a thick wad of paper sheets folded into 3. Here we are. A thick wad of paper sheets folded into 3. He opened it out but didn't press it flat. Too much messing around with this and it'll all fall apart, he told her. So you've got some work to do there, girl. Because what I want you to do is, well, first, find out how to treat it. Right, but you should eat your dinner while it's still warm, Grandad. What is this document, anyway? He put the pages back in the envelope and sat down to eat his meal. I'll soon warm this up again, he said, as he took the pepper pot, removed the top, and emptied some pepper into the palm of his hand. He scattered it over the meal. There we are, that should do the trick. Now, yon story, that was written by my great-great-grandfather, and he learned to read and write specially so he could do it. So that makes it important. I don't know the story because I've never read it myself, only bits of it. It's not easy, you see. My dad read it and he told me, but not till he was an old man and he was going soft in the head. The beer had addled his brain. So I never could make out any sense of what he told me. It's all a muddle, like my old fella's brain. Anyway, what your dad and Freddie will tell you is old Thaddeus was a carrier and he worked out of this place. And after he popped his clogs, Solomon turned it into a beer house. Aye, well, that's all wrong. All I know is that Grandfather Solomon got hurt down by Saltersford when he was bringing an empty barge back to the salt works along the Weaver. They brought him here and chopped off his leg and he stayed put, and that's how we got this pub. My old dad said the Magpie had somewhat to do with it, but like I told you, his head was beer fuddled and he didn't know what he was on about half the time. So I think it's about time that someone set it out proper and we all knew about it. He started to eat his meal. It's hot, Judy, love. It's hot and very nice too. And if you would like to read the rest of the story of Solomon's Magpie, I'll leave a link in the comments below. And thanks for listening, folks. And bye for now. Bye, folks.